Today we'll be looking at growing fruit in Kansas. Though our Kansas climate is often challenging, we can still grow a wide variety of fruit if we follow basic care principles. We'll be discussing tree fruit such as apples and peaches, as well as small fruit like strawberries, raspberries, and blackberries. Our overall learning objectives are the 6 listed here. Let me list those for you. First, identify the tree and small fruit crops that are well adapted to Kansas conditions. Second, identify the pollination requirements for fruit crops. Third, identify the recommended planting practices for fruit crops. Fourth, list the steps taken in pruning tree fruits. Fifth, identify the most common pest problem for each of our common tree fruits. And sixth, list one important characteristic for each fruit crop. We will have a total of 8 lessons in this module that are divided into 3 groups. Those groups are Introduction to Fruit, Small Fruit in Kansas, and Tree Fruit in Kansas. Let's get started in Lesson 1. The first part of this introduction is an overview of growing fruit in Kansas. We can grow a variety of tree fruit and small fruit in Kansas. Tree fruit would include species such as apples and cherries. Examples of small fruit would be strawberries, blackberries, and grapes. 3 tree fruit commonly grown are apples, apricots, and pears, but late spring frosts often eliminate the apricot group. Note that we can grow both Asian and European pears. What is the difference between these 2 types of pears? European pears are what we normally think of when we discuss pears. Asian pears are rounder and resemble an apple, but have more noticeable lenticels, or breathing pores. The lenticels in this photo are the little white spots on the fruit. European pears are probably the toughest fruit tree we have. If you see an old abandoned orchard with one tree still alive, it is usually a pear. We can also grow sweet and tart cherry, but sweet cherry are much more difficult for us to grow. They do not like our up and down temperatures, nor our heat. Some gardeners can grow sweet cherry trees, but most people cannot. Tart cherries, also called pie cherries, are much better adapted and are relatively easy for us to grow. We can also grow peaches and nectarines, but late spring frost can eliminate the crop for that year. Think of a nectarine as a fuzzless peach. There are also 2 different types of plums, European and Japanese. European plums are so dark purple they are almost black, but Japanese plums are more of a reddish to maroon color. They are also juicier than European plums. European plums are easier for us to grow. The most common small fruit we can grow includes strawberry, grape, blackberry, and raspberry. Raspberries are composed of red, black, and purple types, with the purple raspberry being a cross between the red and the black. We have had thornless varieties of blackberries for many years, and are now beginning to see some thornless raspberries as well. There are a number of conditions that favor fruit growing in Kansas. We have a relatively long growing season of 160 to 190 days, which allows us to grow a wide variety of fruit. We also have more than 1,000 hours below 45 degrees but above 32 degrees. These are called chilling hours. Our fruit plants require a certain number of chilling hours before they will break bud in the spring. For example, apples are more difficult to grow in Texas due to low chilling hours there. Kansas is also blessed with abundant sunlight, which provides energy for fruit plants. Sunlight is what powers our plants and is needed for good growth and sugar production to produce fruit that is sweet. Moisture also varies with location, but most areas will need available irrigation. Soils vary, but can be modified for fruit growing. We also have conditions that make growing certain fruit a challenge in Kansas. Late spring frosts often eliminate fruit on peaches and especially apricots. The trees are fine, but we won't have any fruit for that year. Though rare, an extreme cold snap in the fall can damage the fruit trees themselves, causing loss of branches or even entire trees. Winter temperatures below -10 to -15 degrees can kill peach flower buds and the fruiting canes on certain thornless blackberry plants. The fruit plants are not killed, but we lose the fruit crop on that year. Also, high pH soils can weaken plants and reduce production. Fruit plants vary tremendously in how long they live, with apple, pear, and grape often living for over 25 years. Of these three, pears are the toughest and are not as dependent on special care to survive. Apple trees will often break apart in ice or windstorms if not properly pruned. However, there is still one apple tree planted by Johnny Appleseed in 1830 that is alive today. Grapes also must be pruned and protected from competition to do well. The purpose of this slide is to show that a gardener can have fresh fruit from May through September if they grow all the small fruit species listed here. However, you may need to grow more than one variety of a certain type of fruit to get this long of a picking season. For example, no single variety of a June-bearing strawberry will bear from early May into June, but we have early, mid, and late varieties that can stretch the season. The harvest season for some tree fruits can be exceptionally long, especially with apples. Again, this is due to different varieties having different harvest times. For example, Lodi apple will mature in July, or Arkansas black may not be harvested until November. We can stretch the harvest season of other fruits as well by planting different varieties of that particular species. Well, that covers the overview of fruit production in Kansas. Our next lesson will be on what we should consider when putting in a fruit planting.